Good morning.
Morning, Susan.
Morning, Susan.
May 30th, Williston-Richmond Rotary Club meeting. We have a nice crowd. I think our speaker has attracted a little bit for it. So welcome to our guests, Chris Donnelly, who is our guest speaker today. Maddie Morris, who's joining us, a student in DU. Paula Cope, Jen Townley, and Melinda Scott. So welcome.
Susan, shall I introduce her? Did you want me to? I didn't know if you wanted me to or not, but she was coming up and I've known her for a long time, so I'd love to say, because I'm so happy she's here. And she is a Williston resident. Paula started her career as a cardiovascular physical therapist and practiced for 18 years. Ended her career after 32 years as a management consultant, serving over 950 clients in 32 states and 3 countries. In 2005, she was the SBA Small Businesswoman of the Year. In 2012, a UVM Distinguished Service Award. And in 2024, she was our first place winner of our first ever Bill's Gift Story Slam. Like me, Paula is struggling to retire. She considers her greatest achievement being a mother to 3 awesome adult children and is thrilled to be married to Tim Cope, past president of the Burlington Rotary. Thank you.
And I'd like any of our other guests who, you don't have to, but if you wanted to say a few words about yourself, you're welcome to.
Is this when, I don't know, Barb, what you had intended for Maddie, when Maddie would
We can
have
do
the
that now.
opportunity to talk?
Can I come up front?
Yes, you may.
Let's see if I can do it. Coming around. Maddie, would you like to come up here? So Maddie Morrison is, did I say your last name correctly? Morris, I'm sorry. Maddie Morris is a rising junior, I should say. She's finishing her sophomore year at CBU. And she approached us, took the initiative to ask us if we could assist in the summer program that she has been enrolled in. She's going to tell us a little bit about it. Maddie plays volleyball. She is working as a hostess, correct? 3 days a week. What restaurant?
Railroad of Maine.
Oh, Richmond.
Railroad and Maine.
Oh,
So when you go in there, you can say hi to her. And she's very active in school overall and is interested both in French and environmental science. And so she's going to tell us a little bit about the program that she's enrolled in over at Tufts. Okay, go ahead, Maddie.
So hi everyone, good morning. I got accepted in a program via Tufts University this summer. It's a program half in French and then half in international relations. The French aspect is via Life with a Host Family, which I'm super excited about. I actually get placed this week. And then there's also French classes. So for French language and French culture. I've been studying French at the school just down the road, Williston, since I was 10, which I've loved. I love learning about a different language and feeling like I'm able to be immersed in a culture that's different from my own. And then the international relations aspect is via classes, just like French. You go to classes in this really cool monastery, which I'm super excited about. It's in Terroir, France, which is by Lyon and 50 minutes out of Geneva. So another portion of the international relations is visiting Geneva, which is super cool. And I'm just super excited about that. I've been interested in politics since 4th grade when I first read the book I Dissent about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I just loved how strong and powerful she was and how influential she is in politics. I, in 8th grade, participated in a PAGE program. I'm not sure if you all know about it. It's down at the Vermont legislature. And it was just a really eye-opening experience for me about how I can be more locally involved in politics. But that's when I knew that I don't want to be stationary in being in politics. I want to see the world through more of a global lens. So that's why I'm interested in international relations, which is something that is just huge for me, especially right now. There's a lot of conflict globally. So it's something that I'd like to help maintain a more positive and peaceful world. So French and international relations are what I see myself studying in the future. And I'm really excited for this program to just start opening doorways for me. Tufts is an amazing school. A lot of people who participate in this program go to Tufts. So it's just a huge opportunity for me and I'm very excited. I leave June 20th for this program and it's just going to be the highlight of my summer. So thank you all for your time.
And now I will welcome Leslie for our Rotary.
Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? I'm so soft-spoken. So my Rotary Minute today is thanking all of you for your participation in our Memorial Day observance. So I wanted to start with a little quote. Teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results. So I'm going to read off some names of some Rotarians who helped pull the Memorial Day observance together. And when I call your name, I'd like you to stand up and I'd like you to stay standing. So, and these are not in alphabetical order or any order of importance. John Jacob, Charlie McGill, not McGuire as I.
What's wrong with that?
Pastor Paul, Eric Wells, Sally. I don't know why I said Wells because you're the one. Sally, Bill. Oh,
Bill's eating.
Bill, you're standing. Stay standing. Chris, not here. Andy. Gary Howard, not here.
Yeah, it's surgery right now.
Yes, so he has a good excuse. Okay. Jude. Armand. Susan. Rick. So we're missing a few, but I just want to thank you all very much. So stay standing, please. Thank you. And then I would like to thank Sonia, who's not here in person. I don't know if she's no. Sherry. I'll tell you in just a minute. Barb and Marty. And Terry. So as I look around the room, the entire club, nearly the entire club, helped support the Memorial Day observance, which is very well received by the community. And each year I kind of go, is it really important for us to do this? Do people really care? And I had a young man who I talked to at the observance and I said, hey, what's your connection? And he said, I'm a Williston resident. And I thought it would be really important to come and honor our veterans. And then I spoke to a gentleman who is a veteran of the Korean War. And he and his family said, we just can't thank you enough for doing this. To remember, to recognize, to honor, it's just really important to us. So I just want to thank you all for jumping on board, often at the very last minute. So thank you. Now you may all be seen.
Leslie also made the bugle play.
Oh, yeah, he was amazing. And so Luke Bueller has been our taps player for 3 years now. He started as an 8th grader. And he was there again this year as a 10th grader. And he said, so put me on the schedule for next year. I'll do that. So it's pretty awesome.
And thank you, Leslie, for organizing and yes.
No.
You have earned your second Paul Harris. That's not possible. Which is surely a testament to your ongoing, very significant dedication to Rotary and Rotary. Thank you for honoring our club this way. Okay.
That's all we have to do to make moving on.
And because we haven't been inspired enough, Walter is providing our inspiration.
Don't forget the stuff.
I won't.
That's super important.
We will eventually get that.
Good morning. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not, nothing is more common than unsuccessful men and women with talent. Genius will not, unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not, the world is full of educated derelicts. The slogan "Press On" has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. And I picked that one, I have a few others, but I picked that one because it's by Calvin Coolidge, which is Silent Calvin. I thought he was speaking up this time. There are some other things, and when I think of inspiration, I think of that you can't go for perfection, but you do have to make movement and change as you move forward and still be reasonable. So the three that I chose that I've used often are, there are three ways to ultimate success. The first one is ways to be kind. The second way is to be kind. The third way is to be kind. And that's by Mr. Rogers. And don't let yesterday take up too much of today. Will Rogers. And I think, you know, what he's saying is that you can only spend so much time worried about yesterday. And we have a new day today, so let's move forward. And the last one is don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good. And I think sometimes when we're striving for perfection, we leave out the good parts that we could have had. That's by Voltaire. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing that I forgot to say? Maddie, it was an honor following you to the podium. You did a beautiful, beautiful job. I'm so excited.
Thank you all. A few announcements. First and foremost, Sherry, I have not forgotten our spelling bee champions. Haley and Howard, who really smoked the competition. Burlington Rotary Spelling Bee, very proud. And also we have to acknowledge our cheering squad that definitely outperformed any other fans in the audience.
They should spell the winning word.
Yes.
What was the winning word, Elizabeth?
Orinoco.
Spell it.
Give her a definition.
Yeah, Orinoco flow.
That's what I thought of.
Yes, that's what I. So yes, I'd say Leslie and Armand and Sherry and I and the Lewinters were good cheerers on of our team. So
Yes, thank you. It made it extra fun.
It was.
Just a couple other quick announcements and then we'll get to our speaker. Our club has been chosen by Hannaford to be the recipient of their July community bag program. So that's when anybody buys one of their reusable shopping bags, they donate, I forget whether it's $1 or $2 to our club. So we'll have a chance to publicize that, add to our charitable funds.
How did that happen?
Unexpectedly, I think that they just, they have community, like someone at the store who pays attention to the community and looks for groups that they feel are doing good things and they choose them. So it's not something we applied.
You know, I've been talking to the assistant manager there about club membership for about 6 years or 7 years. So he identifies me with Rotary. He came to me one day and said, somebody from your club came and asked for money. And I said they needed to drop off the forms and they haven't brought them yet. They need to bring the forms. So Marty had made contact with them. So constant contact.
They're contributing refreshments for the run, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anyway, well, thank you to those who have, held up contacts with them.
I mean, there's a lesson there about a lot of places.
Yeah, perfect. And then, just one other thing, if you, haven't turned in thank you notes that you, were writing, you have until next Thursday, and there is a pile of them over there. Thank you. Everybody seems very on top of it. I appreciate it. And then one
Very
last
quick
thing.
minute. So one of my projects recently has been making Facebook events for all of our events so that we can share them. So if you have an event and you want me to make it a Facebook event, send me the info. And please, if you're on Facebook, go like our page and share the events so more people can see them, because it really does get the word out.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I just like, I think, quick notice, I think it was Chris who sent in the 5K information. Who did that? Someone in the club sent to the Rotary magazine, and we are in the
Yes.
current Rotary
Debbie
magazine.
Ingram.
Yeah.
Okay.
See your time going away.
All right, Armand, it's you.
First of all, I have a sheet to pass around. Sign up for the fishing access area. I've been doing for the past few weeks and I need some help. So if you would sign up, if you haven't done it before and you're not familiar with it, write your name at the bottom and we'll team you up with someone else just so that more people can get involved in it. Appreciate your help. And we're ready for our speaker. Mandy, you are a tough act to follow. Thank you for being here. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce to you, Chris Donnelly. He's the Director of Community Relations for the Champlain Housing Trust. Chris joined the trust back in April of 2005. He directs CHT's external communication, including community and endowment fundraising, grant writing, media, public relations, coalition advocacy work, marketing of all programs and homes, and publications. Chris oversees a community organization and member relations. He has many years of experience in fundraising and social justice organizations and has a strong background in public policy. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Chris.
Thanks so much. And thanks everybody for having me. I see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new ones, and that's great. I'm gonna share my screen in a second, but I'm gonna just give you a quick sketch of what I'll show you. I'm just gonna go through a background of what Champlain Housing Trust is and the types of programs that we serve and the types of people that, or the types of programs we run, the types of programs and people that we serve. And then at the end, I know there's some interest in some new development that we did in Williston called Zephyr Place. And I'll end on that slide and then hopefully have some time for some questions. So let me share my screen here. So just overall, Champlain Housing Trust serves the 3 northwest counties of the state, Chittenden, Franklin, Grand Isles. We have a few programs that run statewide, but mostly we kind of stay in this kind of northwest corner. We've got 2,700 apartments. We've a home ownership program that people are able to buy an affordable home. I can describe that in a little bit. We have a lot of commercial spaces, including community centers. We own buildings that say that like the Chittenden Emergency Food Shelf run their operations out of. So we have a lot of assets, about $350 million of community assets. And we're supported by about 150 staff. I was talking to Charlie before, and he remembers when we had about 4 staff as the Burlington Community Land Trust way back in the day. But we've grown over the years, and I've been at CHT for almost 20 years now. or community land trust, that's important to us. We really, those assets that we have, we lock up as assets for the community to use forever. That's, the internet connection is unstable, so hopefully we'll keep going. So we, just like a conservation land trust, a Vermont land trust may lock up or conserve land for perpetual use for the community, for open space or for recreation. We do that for people, for communities. This is how we see our programs, and it's a little bit of a continuum. It doesn't necessarily only work in one direction or another, but we think of our work as safety, security, and mobility. And so people find themselves in any kind of part of this continuum through their lives. And sometimes people have ability to purchase a home. Sometimes they may need just security of a rental. But we also have a lot of programs that are helping people that don't have access to housing at all, that are either living on the streets or need shelter. That's been, as people probably know, it's been increasingly important piece of the puzzle that we're trying to solve in Vermont. This is a family this is a Sweeney family that moved into a motel that we purchased about 10 years ago. Harbor Place in Shelburne, you may have heard of that. We purchased this motel to provide an alternative to people living on the streets or people that were using a state-run motel program. It was very expensive and we weren't sure what the outcomes were. So we, 10 years ago, bought a motel and have been operating it to provide services and help people get back on their feet. This person, they were living in an apartment, this family, they were living in an apartment in Burlington. They'd been living there for 10 years and then all of a sudden the landlord raised the rent by $500. And he was working, she was working, and they just saw things just kind of unravel pretty quickly. And they found themselves about to move into their Jeep. This was an economic cause of homelessness, and that was very much more common 10, 15 years ago. Right now, we see a whole myriad of reasons why people become homeless, including mental health, addiction, substance use, what have you. There's a whole range. Domestic violence has been a big cause of homelessness. So we've been trying to create these systems and programs to help fill those gaps for people, to create that sense of security and stability. One of the things that we did in Burlington, you may have heard of this, is what we call the pods, the Elmwood Community Shelter. This is not something we would look forward to. Like we don't say, oh, let's go put a bunch of 8-foot by 8-foot rooms in on a parking lot in the middle of the city. But this is an emergency response to an emergency situation. So we've been operating these for a little over a year now. People move in, they have services on site. We had hoped that people would stay for a minimum of 6 months. That's not happening. People are staying longer because there's no place to move into. So this has been working pretty well. You know, the neighbors had lots of concerns, but we have really good track record in providing support for these folks. So 30 people living in these rooms. If you go a half mile to the south of here, there's a building going up. You know where August 1st is in Burlington? Mm-hmm. There's a building going up right next to it. Those apartments in there, $4,500 a month for a 2-bedroom. So it's a half mile away from here. Half mile to the north or towards the lake, Cambrian Rise, and I'll show you a picture of Cambrian Rise in a little bit. There's condos being built that are $1.5 million for a 2-bedroom. So we have 180 people on the waiting list for these. So we can just see how the market is just kind of out of balance for people in the lower incomes. If you have resources, you have access. This is the answer. During COVID, the steps to end domestic violence had this big spike in the number of people that they were serving, and they were serving people in motels that had escaped a domestic situation, violent situation at home. In order, they escaped and then they were trying to serve them in hotels. they had to shut down or reduce the amount of people they were serving in their shelter. They had 7 rooms, and they went down to 3 because of COVID, because of social distancing. So we helped them buy this motel. This is in between, that little area between Winooski and Essex, that I think is actually Colchester on Route 15. This was the old Handy Suites. And so this has now 21 kind of suites in it that people escaping a domestic violence situation can move into with supportive services right on site. A lot of families that are here, and hopefully this is a temporary stay, but again, probably longer than it used to be. In a few years, we'll turn over the ownership of this property. We were given COVID relief funds for this. We'll turn over ownership if Steps wants this to the organization. But right now, we're managing it. We own and manage it. This is another motel. You'll see a theme here. We've turned a lot of motels into other uses. This is the ho-hum on Williston Road.
The former owner was a member and past president of this club.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We've got both ho-hums. This, for a while, was actually the COVID isolation and quarantine facility for the state. And when people were homeless and they couldn't be in a shelter or they needed more isolation or support, we took them into this building. And we bought this with the idea that we would convert it into housing eventually. So this is now 20 apartments, permanent apartments, not just a shelter. So we were able to convert this pretty quickly into apartments after it was used for the COVID isolation quarantine. Another motel, this is actually, it's on Susie Wilson Road. This is a big one. This was 68 apartments. It was 120 some odd suites that we turned into apartments. And this is 100% people that had moved out of homelessness. And we have 2 people that work there just to provide services for them, just to make sure that they're stable. It's a really difficult property to manage just because of the challenges that the reason why people become homeless is because they have some challenges in their life. And we're there to try to help them work through those. But it's a difficult property to manage just because of the volume of people. And our experience here informed some of our response to when we did Zephyr Place here in Williston. So we learned a lot from this one. This one we did. Oh, I think I may have lost connection. I'm still up here now. Yeah, I'll keep going. No? No, did this.
You know, me?
You wanna, sure, wanna take over? I've had this happen in the middle of a presentation to a legislative committee. Which is not great. So yeah, after this, stand forward to the one after Susie's place. Yeah. One more shot from you. This is actually a woman that lives in Zephyr Place down the road. She went through 6 or 7 years of homelessness. She got sober. She was living in motels. Her mother has been very ill. She has chronic illness. I'm not talking on attorney here. She's said all of this to media reporters. And she was one of the first people that moved in. And she was just like, I have a place to, like, I actually can have a place to put dishes. You can see that in the back. She moved in this week here. When Congresswoman Becca Ballant made her first trip back to the States after being sworn in, she visited Zephyr Place and visited with this woman. But it's still, we don't think about the fact that we can just put whatever we want on our own walls. She had never had that. She hadn't had that opportunity for about 10 years. So we do a lot of other type of repurposing of buildings. This is a dorm. This is actually one of 3 buildings that we are now renovating into 65 apartments at the port. These are going to be beautiful apartments, but there's also a lot of, other things that we do when we do this. It's historic preservation. It's dealing with all the, old asbestos and, the PCBs in this building. So it's environmental remediation. It's preserving the historic structures and then adding energy efficiency. So there's a lot that we do in addition to just doing the housing. We have a lot. The next one. Here's the new apartments. These are up in St. Albans. This couple had been, homeless as well. They're also, become sober, but they talk a lot about how, they just, because of their appearance, because of their history, people just judged them. And when they came to us, they just felt like, oh, we can actually, just be ourselves. And they've been living in this apartment. This is right in downtown St. Albans. There's 2 buildings that are brand new there. They've been living there for a couple of years now. Next one. I don't know if you see in the inset up there, you may recognize, the VFW in downtown Burlington, which is right on South Winooski Avenue near the, right at the bottom of Main Street, where the gas station is. So we're gonna tear down the VFW, and then we're gonna build this new 5-story building there, and then have a community center for the post, the VFW post, with services for vets. And then we're gonna move, either 5 or 8, homeless vets in with, special services, you know. So this is right now, there's a lot of work going on Main Street in Burlington. If you've driven down, it's just like it's being torn up. It's because there's a big ravine that used to be a sewer that runs right through the middle of town. So we need to have that decommissioned first before we do that. So it's also, again, we're doing this value add to the community by investing in the housing here, but we're also paying for some of that remediation. And it's right next to a gas station, so, you know, the soil must be that. Next one. So, our homeownership program, so we provide support for people to be able to buy a home. Right now, I just saw this information yesterday. Vermont had the highest in the country increase from the price of a home last year at this time to this year at this time. So 12.8% increase from last year to this year in the first quarter of the year, just comparing those first 2 quarters. Highest in the nationwide, it was 6.6%. So accessing home ownership is just out of reach for so many people. If we own our homes, we're doing great. The interest rates going up aren't really affecting us. We have probably locked in a 3.5% interest rate. But to access home ownership now is just, median priced home is something in Chittenden County, something like $460,000, something ridiculous like that. So just to be able to get into a home is, you know, there's no starter homes anymore, except for our program, our shared equity program. And what we do is we provide down payment assistance for people to bring the price down to something that people can afford. On the next slide, I'll show you what the types of occupations are that we serve. And then in exchange for that support to get into a home, the owner agrees to share some of the market appreciation when they sell. So they don't take, so if the house goes from $400,000 in value to $500,000 in value, they don't take that whole $100,000 in value. They only take a portion of it, and then they leave the rest behind for the next person to bring down the price. And so in that way, we're able to keep these homeownership homes permanently affordable. And so we just invest in them once, and then they stay affordable forever. We've been doing this for 40 years now, and the homes have become progressively more affordable over time. We work with Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity to do this, to also bring down some of the price. When they build their homes, those homes come into our portfolio, and we steward, you think about it as stewardship, we steward the affordability long-term. This is just some facts on our, I had to put that picture up. Yeah. Some facts on our homeowners. We are serving more people who are Black and brown, serving a lot of young families. And these are the types of people that own our homes. And these are the ones that are really valuable to have in your communities. And so we're really excited whenever we can do more homeownership. There's not as much resources for development of homeownership as there is for rental housing. All right, next one. This is mentioned the partnership with Green Mountain Habitat. This is a home being built in Shelburne. This was maybe from 7-8 years ago. But we love working with Green Mountain Habitat. I know David Mullen is past president of your Rotary. We have maybe a dozen or maybe even 20 or so homes kind of in progress and development with them. Next slide. I mentioned earlier that we have a couple programs that run statewide. This is one of them. We found that there was some research that was done that found that the conditions that farm workers lived in when they lived on the farm, just abysmal and just substandard. You would not, I mean, that's part of our food system. It was really kind of disturbing. And so the state decided to develop a program. We run it statewide. We run it in coordination with the UVM extension program. And we give farm workers or farmers a loan to improve their housing if they're going to keep it as housing. And then over 10 years, it goes away. So it's a forgivable loan over time, 0 interest. And so this is one way that we've been able to help increase some of the habitability of the housing stock with people that are very, very low income and really critical workers in our communities. Next one. After Irene, we were asked, because this area was not hit by Irene as much as other parts of the state, by that tropical storm, we were asked to step in and run a replacement program for manufactured homes. And so we provide down payment assistance to help people get into a manufactured home. There's a lot of older mobile homes around. This provides Energy Star or better energy rating and allows people to stay housed. This was Cambrian Rise. I mentioned this earlier. We work with all sorts of private developers as doing a component of their piece. I was talking to Melinda before about inclusionary zoning. Burlington has an inclusionary zoning program where if a developer wants to do something like this, a certain percentage has to be affordable. And so we work with developers to do this and bring the resources in. This is this looks like a photograph, but this is our architect rendering. It's not this built out yet. And so this is on North Ave is that road that runs through, and you see there's a 12-acre park behind here that was negotiated as part of the development agreement. So this, if you draw lines kind of straight through the middle of this, everything to the left has either been built or is being built. Everything to the right is on the drawing board. And the building that's in the kind of the middle behind the blue one. Oh, I'm sorry, we went ahead. Sorry. Oh, we'll go back. One more. Yeah, the one that's behind the blue one in the middle is going to be a combination of homeownership and rental that we're going to do. And the one furthest to the left is senior housing. Right behind it is 76 of 75. And then behind that, the one that's kind of closest to the lake, that's where the $1.5 million condos are being built. So this is going to be the most diverse, economically diverse neighborhood in the state. That's what gets built. Close to 1,000 homes. Okay, that's fine. Oops, the other way. Sorry. Thank you. This is where Harbor Place was, and it's on Shelburne Road. This is going to get rebuilt into 100 apartments and homes, townhomes as well as apartments. We're going to break ground on that on July 1st. So this is on Shelburne Road on the way to Shelburne. And you see on the left is where the townhomes are going to be, and then other apartments kind of right on the road. But this is going to be a great addition to Shelburne. So Zephyr Place. So this was the Town Place Suites. And it was 99 suites in it. we turned it into 72 apartments. And we did this with some COVID relief funds, but also state funds and federal tax credits. We pulled together close to a $20 million project, but the cost per apartment, that may seem really high, $270,000, but right now, if we're gonna build something new, it'd be $500,000. And so to do this kind of conversion, even though the costs are going up, it's much cheaper and it's faster than new construction. I look back into our files, we pay about $108,000 in property taxes. So I just wanna, I know I hear a lot from people that nonprofits, you don't pay taxes, we pay property taxes. The property may have paid a little bit more, maybe $20,000 more, when it was a hotel, because it was, you know, commercial, but it's not that big of a hit to include, to do this kind of conversion to the community. And then we have on-site services here. I brought, the chair of the House Human Services Committee to visit this and visit with a resident there. That inspired her to include in a piece of legislation that we should be including resident services in our budget. And so it hasn't been fully funded yet, but she saw firsthand the value of what services do to support people. There's a person that lives in this building that had a car accident and she had a brain injury. And she, because of that, she lost her job. She kind of, it's you know, her health impacted her employment, her employment impacted her housing. She became homeless. She lived in motels for 2 years until this opened, and she was able to move in. And then she was able to tell her story, and she's now accessing Mercy Connection services that allow her to get more employment training. So she's slowly getting back her life, but she credits the housing as the stabilizing factor. So that is it.
So what's the rent for a family staying in Zephyr Place?
So many of the people have what we call vouchers or Section 8 vouchers. And so they will pay a third of their income for their rent. The other ones are set by federal regulations, so there'd be $1,400 for a 2-bedroom. There aren't a lot of 2 bedrooms there, so I'm gonna guess 1,100 or so for a 1 bedroom, or 1,200, heat and hot water included. I have to double check.
And what about,
something?
what about security? Is the lobby a place that homeless people are going and sleeping?
No, it's locked. It's, so you have to have a pass key to get in. And we have on-site staff.
Could you describe some of the services when, you know, a
Yeah.
lot of the properties, it says on-site services or particularly people who were previously houseless and now are in more stable housing. Can you talk a little bit about
Sure.
those services?
Yep. So we have a person that actually works there who is a social worker. And so, and she checks in with people, you know, her job is to make sure people are connected. So if she doesn't see somebody for a few days going in and out and so forth, she will go knock on their door and say, hey, is everything okay? So she's available for them, whether they want to reach out to her or she checks in with them. She also coordinates other services to come in, so Turning Point, which deals with people with substance use disorder, comes in every other week. The Community Justice Center in Williston has access to our room there to create restorative kind of practices there. So they're available. We will bring with other properties, we have a food shelf. You know, in Essex, we have a food shelf on our property. So it's a range of different things. But it's often just connecting people to what they, so our social worker will connect people to the types of things that they need. So the woman with the brain injury, she was connected to Mercy Connections because the social worker says, oh, I know someone that can help you. So it's that kind, it's really individualized. So there's some stuff that we bring in, we just program, and we have available for folks, and then otherwise it's individualized.
Can I ask one more question? If you have someone who as you described, became sober or remain sober, what if they start using again, or how do you handle that kind of property?
You know, we never evict because people are using.
Okay.
We offer support, we offer whatever kind of help, you know, this is, only so much you can do, when people have that kind of health issue. But we continue to try in different ways and so forth. If people, I will say, if people are dealing narcotics or drugs from our properties, we have zero tolerance for that, so.
Chris, pardon my ignorance on this, but is there bus access
Here,
at Zephyr Place? And
Yeah.
many, I mean, is that kind of a thought in the whole process, is making sure that there's transportation?
yeah, great question. And this is a great example of how, when we first came to the town, we said we wanted to do this. And I don't know if you were on the select board at the time. Yeah, it was. And I remember talking to people, and they said, you know what, you need to put there's a bus on 2A. And on the corner of Zephyr Road and 2A, but people have to cross Zephyr Road to walk down the sidewalk and then cross again to get to the bus stop. And so we put in I don't know, did we put it in yet? We put in the sidewalk, just on our side of the road, to give that direct access, so they don't have to cross the street twice. So we're conscious of all that. There are some communities, you know, there are some places that I think may not have bus service, but our residents have cars. A property like Zephyr Place has fewer cars, so we don't want to completely exclude developing in places that don't have bus service. But a property certainly like this one, we want that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I just have comments. I'm, the operations manager of the Williston Food Shop.
Okay.
And we work with your residents a lot. I've worked with your manager, who was very supportive in getting people signed up for the food shelf. We have rolling carts that the Rotary is gonna support next year for people who walk from Zephyr to our food shelf. And I know Crystal Lee from the Community Justice Center has gotten adult protective services in to help somebody there. So I get the sense that there's a great deal of, and even the residents at Zephyr Place watch out for each other. If they haven't seen somebody there in a few days, they check in. So my sense is that it's a very supportive community with a lot of positive things going on to help and support the people that live there. I'm glad you have Zephyr Place.
Thank you. You probably know a lot more about it than I do, since I'm not in the middle of it all, you know, but yeah, there was someone just recently that passed away. Yeah. And the connections that people, I know it's bad, but the connections that people made just over morning was amazing. The woman had a service animal, tiny little dog that people call an Ewok. That the family gave to our property manager, and so that the dog can continue to come to the property and just be kind of around, because the dog was a member of the community too. So it's amazing when people get together. It's just amazing.
And Chris, I should note, I live about 3 blocks from where that is, and there was a lot of noise when you were gonna go in there, as there is in any neighborhood when you're putting in any kind of different service and all. And I have to tell you, I don't see an impact on the neighborhood, you know, I mean, I'm not saying nothing ever happens there, I don't know, but things happen all over.
Right.
Finney Crossing and Chelsea Place and so I don't see a different kind of impact, on the neighborhood there. And, I think people were unnecessarily concerned for the way your organization makes sure their properties are handled.
Just following up with what Sean said, I became the de facto communicator
Yeah.
between Finney Crossing and your organization, and I thought that was very effective. And I don't know if that's a model you use, but for us, it worked wonderfully.
Yeah, I know I worked with you on getting some frequently asked questions
Yeah.
to just say, all right, this is what we anticipate. and try to anticipate what the questions are gonna be, what the concerns will be, and
Made a huge
and how we'll address them. And, you know, we're people, you know, it's, you know, when you deal with people to people, nothing's perfect. It's not like widgets that you're making, but we always learn from what we do.
How many apartments or how many people are?
So there are 72 apartments. They're almost all individuals. There may be a few couples in there, and they're in 2 buildings. One building, because of the funding stream, we said these are all dedicated to people that are moving out of homelessness. Those are 38 apartments in one building, and that has that service right on site, but it's just across the parking lot where there's another 34 apartments. And those are more flexible for us to use, but still, we're finding just because of our waiting list, there are people moving out of homelessness there that need services, and it's just been a good fit.
How can the town most effectively partner with CHT to bring more affordable housing here?
Yeah, thanks. We were talking earlier about the housing trust fund that Williston has. It's only a few communities in the state that have a housing trust fund, and so that's fantastic. And continuing to think about your inclusionary zoning and how trust fund and all these pieces kind of fit together is great. You know, what I'm hearing a lot from my colleagues around the state is that if you go to a zoning meeting, you only hear from people that don't want stuff to happen. And so for community members, if you see a development happening, it doesn't have to be affordable housing, it can be any kind of housing that you feel is okay, you know, is what, I mean, I think we need a lot of housing, just generally. But people coming in and saying yes, so that is really kind of valuable too. But we, you know, always happy to work with Williston especially, but any municipality in terms of what your future goals are. You know, it's a lot of it's resource driven for us.
Thank you for all of that. And just another plug for the housing. I deliver Meals on Wheels to Zephyr Place.
Okay.
So it's another service that goes in there. It's another person touching base. It's another person communicating with the staff there to figure out what's working, what's not. I have never felt unsafe there. I've always felt very welcomed by, I mean, if I couldn't get in the way that I should get in, somebody knows I'm wearing a badge and legit, and they're just incredibly helpful and gracious. And I think that it's sad, but we don't, as a culture, really appreciate, you know, you said we're human beings, we all are, and we should help each other.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you're doing, and it's a great place.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you probably know Katie. There. So I was talking about the lawmaker that I was talking, that I showed around when we were like in the final negotiations and she was trying to figure out money for the resident services program. She was like, that's the Katie money, right? Didn't look at that.
Hi, I'm a parent of an adult with disability, and we have a parent group here in Williston looking to find housing.
Yeah.
That's service supported, and we're working with the town and advocating. And I'm also working.
You know,
as part of the
Michael,
Act-
right?
Yeah.
You know,
Well, we've been working, I'm also part of one of the Act 186 pilot plan grants that Champlain Housing Trust was awarded. And I'm working with that group. But within Williston, if we find a piece of property that we're interested in, who do we come to within Champlain Housing Trust? Who's the best person to contact
I would contact Michael Monty.
directly?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just to say, you know, that property, and I say him because he never starts with no.
No, I know.
He always starts with yes. I mean, I may not get the yes at the end, but he always starts with yes, because when there's real estate, there's hope.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you very much
Yeah,
for
thank
being
you.
here today. What you do touches us all. I can tell by the questions being asked. Thank you. CHT is a gem. We're so fortunate to have the organization in Vermont.
What a great way to start my day.
And thanks for your presentation. We're going to be making a donation to the Wilson Central School mentoring program in your name, in CHT's name. Thank you for being here. One more task before you leave. If we could have you draw a ticket and read the last 3 numbers, please.
Okay. 200.
Oh. Again?